Welcome to the Executive Lounge. This is the thought leadership program that brings you nuggets of insights from the work and lives of men and women who have scaled the daunting heights of either starting their own business or managing or growing institutions right here at home and around the world. Photographs tell stories. They're frozen moments in history. But it takes people with great skill and technical ability to make it happen. We see photos, we love them, we talk about them, but we never look for the people who made those photographs and even get to learn how they ended up deciding that they want to spend life behind a lens. Today my guest is one such person who's traveled the world, seen the best sporting arenas, and captured some of the most celebrated moments in history. Senyuiedzorm Awusi Adadevoh. You're welcome to the Executive Lounge.
Thank you. Thank you.
Why photography?
Why photography? Because like you said, it's a frozen moment. It tells a story. Until recent times, it's a fact. It's in your face. Once upon a time, I was a very quiet person, introvert, and that's like very early, before 10 years. So an uncle gave me a camera, and my mom had these notorious house helps. So instead of going to report them, choke them, I didn't want to choke them. I didn't want to be Lapo. And I took photos. When the film was washed, my mom said, "Is this what you've been doing?" Okay, so I thought, this is good. This is good. But you see, as at that stage, I was involved in my family business. And so I knew about money. So I was never going to be a photographer. No, because I was even taught by my own mom that every poor man is every poor man is a lazy man. And when I looked at our family photographer, my dad, who was far older than my dad, I didn't want to be a photographer, But it was when I turned 14, I read a book called Dazzle, and it was about 3 photographers. One did food photography, one did automobile, and then one shot societal. It was the one about food photography that caught me. He had a commission to shoot a catalog for a renowned French chef. And he asked the chef to bring his bird, as whole as it is. I mean, of course killed, but as whole as it is. And the chef insisted I bake my birds in special oven. He said, "No, just bring it. I'm a photographer, like you're a chef, this is my domain." When the next morning of the shoot, when the chef returned, he found the photographer had a bucket of oil paint mixed. And when the photographer painted the bird and shot it, it was perfection. And then, in the book, the French chef was amazed. And me reading it, 14-year-old girl, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to blow people's mind. And I wondered, because I cook a lot too, but I wondered how many millions of women around the world would be reading books and trying to get that color of perfection of a roasted bird, And I was just like, this is what I want to do. Wow. And that's why I started. I finished school by 99. I got into photography. I first went into motion, but being a perfectionist, your light man won't come early, your sound man, and I was too young at the time. So by and by, in a year's time, I found myself in still. Wow. Yeah.
So you mentioned that so an uncle gave you a camera.
Yeah.
And you were involved in the family business. Tell me a bit about your family. What was the business about?
We are a construction family. My family business is that of construction. We own a small estate. We're into real estate. We are into concrete machinery. So when I'm not doing photography, I'm helping out. I'm either renting out concrete mixers, pneumatic compressors. Talk about it. We, excavate anything. So that's what we do. When I'm not doing photography, when I'm not doing PR, that's what I do. I'm into construction. So my siblings, I've got a sibling who's a pilot. When he's not flying, he's at a site. My sister, I have a sister who's a goldsmith. When she's not dealing gold, she's dealing concrete. A sister who's an interior designer. She's not doing interior, she's doing exterior concrete. Wow. So that's what we do. So so that's it. And,
what kind of family? It seems like you're all quite close-knit because you're whatever you do, you come back to
yes,
work
because
in the family,
we had a very strict upbringing. I will tell you this: I've never been to any vacation classes before. That's how strict my dad was. So after school, the driver was waiting for us, all 5 of us. We ran into the car, we driven home. We eat, we go for karate lessons. We have, depending on the day, we had karate lessons, we had piano lessons, computer lessons, and English lessons. You watch TV, you go to bed. If you wanted a friend, talk to one of your siblings.
Oh,
So, yes.
wow.
So you only had outsiders. You only had, friends when you're in school. But when you come back home, your siblings were your friends. So, we learned to, appreciate each other. Of course, we have our differences, but you talk it out to the person, to your sibling. I don't like that. I don't like that. Yeah, you trash it out a few hours. If you need something from her, you go back to her. If he doesn't mind you, you say what you want to say, and you walk on. He'll get tired. He'll come.
Wow. So, but overall, you've all grown to become very close, and you look out for each other.
Of course, because at the end of the day, let me tell you what, if something went wrong at home, or if one of us did something wrong, there's something that we call Sahindri. Okay? You know what Sahindri,
That's right?
Yes. So Sahindri, the high priest, which is my dad, and then he had his state elders, which was my grandmother and my mother. Now your case will be there before Sahindri. Sahindri started when my father finished work from 7:30 or 7:45. You would stand in that Sahindri to like 12 midnight, and then all your siblings have to be behind you. And then I will quote my dad. That's our. So why aren't you there when your sister was doing this? So, all these things, I don't understand. You don't think. And so you don't want to go through that. So you have to be your brother's keeper. So when your brother or your sister is inside, I don't want trouble today. I want bed. You get it? So that's how we're each other's keeper. You don't want to go to Sahindri. It's not a one-month thing. If your brother falls in trouble, you are all going before Sahindri.
Wow.
So you had to stick up for each other.
That's an awesome leadership lesson. So you looked out for each other
Exactly.
and you were responsible for each other.
Exactly. It's not like you're doing him a favor. You're not doing each other a favor. You needed it for your own peace.
Interesting stuff. So you picked up photography, did a bit of motion, and then decided to stick to still.
Yes.
But you're not doing food photography now.
I'm not doing food photography. See, I'm led. I always say that I had never gotten up to ever say I wanted to be a photographer. It's a calling. So I'm led to do things. I'm led. Even when I'm shooting, you would ask my team, when it gets to a time and I'm off. Nothing. Because I even go onto a pitch or into an arena with a script in my head. And I tell my team, this is how we work. Our tagline, I mean, with all due respect, we always say self-light took out, our tagline. It's about time. So if we get to an arena, we have a specific shots put on air so that no matter wherever you are in the world, you want to write a story about a game between, let's say, Dianan and Hasselfolk or Kotoko or, who else, Bechem or whoever, you should have at least 5 to 7 professional photos, So I'm led, and I haven't been into the quote unquote the spirit to do food photography. I'm doing sports. Why sports? When I started photography, I was doing societal events because even then, when I finally gave up and said, okay, I think this is it, let me do photography, let me just stop the nonsense, people were still not at that age where people appreciated still photography, okay? And then I was doing all round, but I went onto the pitch to shoot in 2005, to shoot a match. And I did sports in school, but this is not it. When I got onto the pitch and I was shooting people, I realized that I fell in love. And I realized something. I was like, no, this is true. Every moment of our lives, we are so cautious of camera and of who is watching. But there are only 2 moments that a man does not mind whoever is looking. War. When there's war, you're running. I mean, forget a stage shot where some photographer by connection gets a group of, what do you call it,
combatants to
group,
pose.
yeah, to, you know, shoot fast shots and that dramatic stuff. But when it's war, people are running. People are being tactical. However, it's one-sided. Sports is a bouquet of events. It's a bouquet of emotions. In sports, you get the sadness. In sports, you get the victory. In sports, you get the ego. You get the intimidation. Everything is there in sports. And when you're shooting sports, because it's speed work, you who is shooting it have to concentrate and have to be apart. You have to anticipate the next move and fire. If you want to catch Usain Bolt, you have to be faster than Usain Bolt. So I catch Usain Bolt in the air just like any other photographer catches him in the air. It's because you have set your camera, your brain, your focus, you're faster than him.
That's interesting. Sports, lots of things happen and
Exactly.
it's unpredictable.
Yes.
But every frame, every moment is, every seminal moment is captured. How do you get into the thing even though you didn't know what will happen next?
Let me tell you what. Sports is a very classic definition of journalism. In journalism, you're taught of the hard event and the soft event. Hard event is unexpected events. Soft event is a stage event, right? In sports, for any function you go to, there is a two. Be assured of the two. Although, I would say football, because our part of the world, football is the dominant sport. Although football is a stage event, but never is a sport, never is a fall staged. Never is a misbehavior or misconduct staged. Never is an overlooked by a referee. I mean, he's not expecting that you catch him like that or anything. That's always a hard event. So you have to be faster. You have to be involved in the game. So that's why if you're going to shoot any sports, even for editorial purpose, you have to read a bit about the sport. You have to have watched it a bit. That's why when you invited me for that practice, so whenever you're going anywhere, you have to have a bit of sense of, you know, knowledge about whatever you're going to. That's when you called me for the program. I asked for a link. I wanted to know, who are the caliber of people? What do they say? What is the posture? What is expected? So when you get there, you are a part of it. Nothing is surprising to you. You flow. It's only when you flow that you can get stories. I tell you, with all humility, I shoot the same game with people. Like the recent fight of my nephew, Isaac Dogbe. And I've watched a few shots around. And I smile. Because, yes, they are shots. They were closer to the ring. I was back. But you see, you should see a shot and clinch, you know, and then you should see a shot. Sometimes you should see a shot and have an orgasm.
Wow,
yeah.
Interesting.
But you see, I see all these shots, and it's because they waited for the event to happen. You know, you don't wait for the punch to be landed. You have to keep shooting. If you want to catch a man in action, you don't start shooting when he springs off. You start shooting before he springs off.
So you're holding the camera and you're going through the motions of hitting with the fighter.
Of course.
So that by the time he swings, you're catching him all the way to the point where the impact is made.
Yes.
But, I mean, how do you keep that level of concentration over, say, a 3-minute round in a boxing game or over 90 minutes in a football match?
And sure, I was late to this interview. You had a patient to wait because that's your job. That's what you got up this morning to do. Your crew has been waiting for me because that is what they got up this morning to do. If you drove to an arena and you can't calculate and wait and spot your action, why did you wake up for that? So it's a discipline you acquire. It's a discipline from day one because I've taught my boys, I call them boys in quotes, I've taught my men. They may not be sharp shooters. That's what we call people like us. They may not be sharp shooters, but they know how to, I mean, they know what they are there for, you know. And even the way you stand, like there's a friend of mine in Uganda, I see her shots. First, I thought it was the gear she was using. Then I noticed she had changed her gear. Then I see her shot and I see lateness in the shot. Every shot, the shot, you see, there's this thing. A shot can be beautiful, but did it tell the story? Did it deliver an impact? I've been watching, but you have to be very careful in the way you say these things. Then one day I got my answer. She put up a photo taken of her by another photographer. She was on the pitch. I said, aha, this is it. The way she sits to shoot gives her late shots.
Wow.
So I called her and I said, there's something, I've known you for 3 years. For 3 years, I've never been happy with your shots. But you're a friend, you've become a sister, so I had to be, careful of your emotions. Your shots are always late. And I've wondered why, because I've seen that you've changed gears. It's the way you sit. You see, you have to sit ready and shoot. But she shoots and she goes down. And then she sees the action coming. Then she's now
she has to
posing.
reposition.
And then the camera is even here. You see, so by the time you adjust your whole body,
you've missed it.
Action is gone now.
Wow.
You see, so.
Interesting. Now, I mean, you would have thought that photography is about holding the camera, pointing it, and pressing the shutter, but it seems there's a lot more technical stuff that we need to learn. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to take this conversation to a whole new level. And hopefully, one of you out there, or a few of you, would pick up the camera and make some great photos. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me and Shirado and my guest, Senyuiedzorm Awusi Adadevoh, professional sports photographer. Started out wanting to do food photography, but somehow was called to do sports photography.
Because of my love for capturing human emotions.
And you get it all.
Thank you.
I think for me, one of the classic moments, or when you talk about a bouquet of events, emotions is the World Cup 2014.
14, okay.
Yeah, Brazil. When Brazil lost to Germany, there's this photo of this woman who was wearing the Brazil jersey, and the look of disbelief, shock, and angst and sadness all rolled into one. How do you spot in an arena of thousands of people where to swivel to catch that emotion? How are you? These are things you don't script.
I tell you what, that's one of my signatures, the fans. You see, I always say that when you say soccer, people think that soccer is 90 minutes of football, but that's wrong. Before the 90 minutes happened, thousands of people were involved together. Those who kept their lungs, the sellers, the jersey makers, and everybody. And that's how come football remains a dominant sport around the world, because of the number of people involved. And for the 11 men, each comes from 11 families, in fact, 22 families. So that's how it expands, their girlfriends, second wives, first wives. So now there's one thing. The biggest part of the sustenance of sports, of football, is the fan base. So I figured it was just my thing that I would give attention to these people. It gives them involved in the game. So there's this thing I've noticed. Fans are most interesting and energetic before a match. Before a match, everybody says they'll win. Even if you're playing, even if it's a Brazil-Ghana or Brazil-Togo. Togolese are saying they will beat Brazil. Brazilians are saying, are you serious? The energy is unique. So that's the first time you go in, those ones you go in for the victory shots. I mean, those victorious shots by both parties. After that is the, what do you call it, the break, that, especially when one side has already scored. So through your lens, and I've had so many photos of me, other photographers take shots of me doing that. Through my lens, I look out for people. How do you look out for people? I don't want you to see my photo and be asking me, who is this? Then my photo has failed. So I look out for somebody who is, undisputedly identifiable. She's, like you said, she's in the national jersey. So, of course, she's a Brazilian or a Brazilian supporter, you know. So that's one thing I look out for. And then what is the story? So if there's a massive loss, I stop even shooting the main game 10 minutes to time. Hey, Charlie, I'm letting out all my secrets. So. You know, so I stop shooting and I keep, because you know what? I'm not shooting motional. It's only motion that you need every bit. But for still, if you shot well according to your script, you should have for every, unless of course something really happened, right? Really out of the ordinary. If you shot well, you should have every bit of the story there. So 10 minutes to stoppage, I just go, through both parties, or depending on where I'm seated, through the lens and go around and capture emotions.
Let's recount your first international assignment. What was it like?
My first international assignment, it was to Togo.
Okay.
It was to Togo. It was to do a work for the BBC on Adadevoh for the 2007 BBC African Player of the Year. It was cool. Even though it was my first international, I had already had an international exposure and critique, because I had done some work for a friend, a senior colleague. And that's the thing, in this trade, you have to acknowledge seniority. It helps, and it's inspirational. So he wasn't a photographer, he's a writer. But when you read, it also impacts in how you shoot. So Simi Thomas, he was here in Ghana, but working for the BBC. And then he would employ me to do certain shots. And then he'd go like, listen, when you're coming back, I want this, I want that. Then I brought the shot, I said, what? How did you get this? I love the angle. I'm like, Charlie, I'm already there. And he was blown away and all that. And he's like, hey, oh, but if you're tilted and be this way. So I already had that. And I had started from 2005. Yampo Fankra, actually, Yao got me into sports. He saw my first set of photos and he was like, girlfriend, this is the first time I'm seeing you on this pitch, but your photos beat every single man in this stadium. I think you should look at this more seriously, So, these are all people who have had international eye. And so you're already there because, and let me tell you, at the time that I started photography, no father was going to send a daughter to school. And photography schools are expensive, just like Paraton schools. They're very expensive. So no father, no matter how liberal an African father is, Charlie, if you want to do photography there, the best you do is to buy you the camera. So this is how I learned photography, looking into magazines. My friend Nicote, he said, my friend, the way you have tongue and you like to critique and you like the best of things, go buy magazines, and then watch films, feature films, see the angles, see the stories. Look at things that inspire you. When they inspire you, they are implanted, imprinted in your mind. And when you go onto the field, you will yearn to produce what you saw.
Interesting.
So that's why.
So back to covering Adadevoh.
So
how did it feel going?
It was nothing. It was nothing.
You weren't intimidated by the fact that, okay,
no,
this is
because my photo had already been published by Focus on Africa?
That's
yes.
right.
So I knew my caliber, and I went there. Even if you don't, you see, photography is a psychological trade. You have to be well composed because, you see, the fewer people who take an event, the more exclusive it is, the more the price of that event. So photographers by nature, we don't like seeing more of us at any event. We get cranky, we get moody. So I already had that thing. I had the exposure. So I saw people there. I'm like, oh, all these people. And I was an official photographer for the BBC. So how can I be intimidated by people who also came by the locals, quote and unquote? So I wasn't intimidated.
Have you ever been afraid of going to shoot an event and like the fear of failing to get that money shot, to get that moment that will become the reference point in the entire event?
Photography is an art. Art is about interpretation. I, by the grace of God, have never shot any event that I haven't had a shot that has gone viral. So that's why, first of all, you need to know what event you're going for. So there should be at least 3 shots you have in mind that this one for deliver. Then the rest are bonus. I am yet to.
Wow.
For any event.
So, I mean, it's quite interesting, and bless Yampa for Ankara for spotting talent in, let me just say it, you know, chauvinistic world, and saying that, look,
and I'm glad you said chauvinistic world.
Yes.
I hear people saying that, hey, as for Ghana men there, my job has taught me that men are men all over. Be it Ghana.
I'm different though.
Please. No, but you're right. There is the exception. I've walked onto many fields around the world. When I walked onto Accra Sports Stadium in 2005, I got a reaction from people, and I heard them say, you didn't see we are playing here. 2014 in Brazil, I saw 2 Western guys chuckled on seeing me. So it never changed. I mean, it's not that this is just the 2 that happened, but I'm giving you example of the 2 different races and the 2 different times. That's like a decade after. It doesn't change. My job has taught me that, in fact, humans are the same. It's just our packaging and our approach. So,
but sorry for butting in. It didn't stop you. You cited 2 examples over a period of a decade. I'm sure in between those 2 dates, several occurrences may have happened.
My family background teaches us one thing: what somebody thinks is none of your business. What is your business is what you put out. So that's how I approach the world, not just photography. That's how I approach my world. Ask my team, when they are seeing something, they are checking about something, I say, "You sure say that thing concern you?" That's how I approach the world. So people see me as cocky, but if that will get me what I want, so be it. But what people think or say is none of my business. If indeed my conscience is clear, it's none of my business. What I put out, that's my business. So that's how.
When you're out filming different events, shooting different events, do you get into the vibe of the environment?
Of course, you have to get into the vibe to be able to tell a story. If you're an outsider,
you enjoy as much as watch and capture moments.
You enjoy what you are able to capture. You enjoy the fact that you're capturing something. And if you are fortunate for any other photographer to just turn their camera on you and snap you and give to you, you actually see that you also, I see that in myself, you're actually also racing with them. And that's how it gets. You have to be part of the moment. If you deduct yourself from it, your shots are going to be deducted. Wow. It's going to show that you are just there, you shoot like this. You wait, you hear people shout, "Hey!" You shoot. No.
Is there anything that other females watching us today have to, and may have the interest of following your path, that they have to, one cardinal thing that they have to remember always, should they ever pick up a camera?
Well, that, it's like I said earlier, it's not a Ghana thing that men would look at you. It's not a Ghana thing. I've shot in Africa, Europe, the Americans, Asia. It's not a Ghana thing. Men will look down on you. In fact, you will find your own women also, if let's say a woman was a producer, or, also standing, when you will find that sometimes you find a woman also laughing along with the men that they are seeing you and they're laughing. And especially when you are petite and you're doing, you say sports, yes, sports, the fact of the matter is sports is indeed a man's field, sports photography, because the gadgets are heavy. So you tend to look.
And some are almost as tall as you. I've seen you carry some long lenses.
Exactly. And so, people tend to laugh because, I'll tell you this. In 2010, during the World Cup between Ghana and Australia, I think that match was in Bloemfontein. And that particular stadium had a pitch up, like where the photographers were coming from. Normally, we descend. But this one, we descended, and then we had to ascend onto the pitch. Sorry, I got midway, I couldn't carry my stuff. I just didn't look the pitch. I was tired. So then I called out to one volunteer, and he looked at me, and he chuckled, and he just looked, and they were laughing. I'm like, yeah, they are kids. So I just before I could finish shaking my head, a man from behind me said, because people can't pronounce my name, they call me Miss Ghana. I said, Miss Ghana, forgive them. And then he's a photographer too. He dropped his gears and he lifted my gears. And then apparently he's a Zulu. And the boy who misbehaved towards me, misbehaving quote, is a Zulu tonight. Here Zulu, we're not supposed to do certain things towards a woman or something. So the guy went on his knees and was begging the older man. He was like, no, you know what you did to her is wrong, you know. It's tough. But at the end of the day, this is what you have to look at. Your output. That is your business. People always laugh. Even amongst the men, they laugh at themselves.
How did that impact your work that day? Once you got on the pitch, finally, did it weigh you down?
You should know me by now. Certain nonsense ends when the nonsense ended. I mean, I remember this because of the cultural aspect that, you know, it was interesting to me because, and I remember this because it reminded me that, yes, it's still, you know, a man is a man. I am a realist. I'm sorry to all my feminist friends, but I am a realist, okay? A realist is that I do not dodge issues. The fact of the matter is, it's heavy, the gears are heavy. Very few women, you know, are bigger than men and are able to do it swiftly. But when you get over that hurdle, when you get the gears onto the pitch, it's a brain work. And you're gone. Just concentrate on what you're doing. Look, for the fact, that's what and not only to women. I see Ghanaians, I see black Africans. They go, let me tell you this, like I was in Russia in December. So this guy from, I think he was
for the World Cup draw?
Yes. I think he was working for the BBC. And a friend, we were taking photo of a stand. And he wants to shoot something. And he came and he started shouting. And then he's shouting on this Lebanese, Chinese guy with all this, you know, British any accent. He's like, get over there. I said, hey, you can't shout on us. We all have the same credential. And we are here. That makes us the same. Listen. If you wanted this shot before us, you should have gotten here before us. And you're about his height. How can you get intimidated by him? Listen, guy, if you can't wait for us, go do other shots and come back. You can't beat me. You can't beat me. And that it's not about being rude. There's a thin line between rudeness and boldness. And I try as much as possible not to cross it. But our culture makes sometimes boldness mostly look rude. But the fact is, we all have the same D credential. So what makes you special? If you're not the sponsor of the event, my friend, forget it. You don't come giving me orders. You get it. Even if you're the sponsor, Charlie, your duty is different too. And my duty is different too. So I don't get it. You see I see my fellow Africans, hey, Charlie, these people don't mind us. He's white, he's so bony, and so what?
How did you come by that confidence? How much of that is rooted in the upbringing you had, and especially that you weren't allowed to mingle too much?
Well, yes, you're not allowed to mingle too much, but you're just not allowed to mingle too much because you have work to do. So that is it. When you're in school, let me tell you, when you're going to school, any child from home, when you're going to school, in my home, my mother would tell you, if you come back crying that you were beaten in school, I'll beat you. Somebody beats you in school, beat the person back.
So you were taught to stand your ground.
Exactly. So I don't get it. Look, even right here in Ghana, once I was taking trotro from Adenta to Osu, there was a man I met in the car. He wouldn't push for me to say. He did this, baya, and I came to ya. Right? I sat down. A white woman came, and he got down. I said, you see your stupidity. Then you say you are colonized. You see your stupidity. You will make me say, you know. But then they just, it's not even a woman thing, no. It's not a woman's thing. So when we get out there, you'll be surprised. Very few of us are able to stand for ourselves. It's a psychological world. The creative world is a very psychological world. It's not only photography. It's a very psychological world. It's how you stand for yourself. That's how you'll be remembered. Do you get it? In 2010, I was eating on the pitch during halftime. And I think apparently some older photographers had decided to talk about it and mock at me. But one bold one turned to me and said, he's Asian, so he had an accent. He said, you must be really hungry. I said, of course, Grandpa. Otherwise, why would I be eating in front of you? What would I get? Then he turned. He said he works for Japanese something. I said, how unfortunate. So everybody turned. So one person asked, but who do you work for? I said, I work for myself. And at your age, you still work for somebody, Grandpa?
Oh my goodness, you're a handful.
Since then, nobody talks my matter. Then you don't cross my path. do you understand?
Okay.
How you put yourself out there is how you get it.
The rest of the questions just ran away. Look, let's take a break. We're going to come back and then do the final part of this conversation. But it's awesome. I think already, if you're watching this, treasure trove. Welcome back to the final part of this episode of the Executive Lounge. My name is Adadevoh. Of course, you know that. And my guest is Senyuiedzorm Awusi Adadevoh. I think by far the most well-traveled Ghanaian photojournalist, sports photojournalist. And I have to say this, she's a female. So yeah, she deserves extra applause. And not because you're a female, but because you've done some great work and continue to.
I'm humbled.
How are you able to consistently churn out great work?
Like I said to you earlier in the show, you know, I get to places and people tell me, Charlie, relax, just don't be World Cup. But that's nonsense. I'm sorry. My use of nonsense is not an insult, but it's in the word, there's no sense in it. That's just nonsense.
That's what it means,
okay,
yes.
Cool.
I'm not offended. I don't think our audience should be either.
Exactly. So that's nonsense. I mean, for you to wake up, risk movement from one point to another, why do you go and joke? Why do you go and exercise any sense of mediocrity, which is all over, you know, sense of production? So before I go to a place, I would have read something small about the place, and then I'm going, and I'm going in, and thank God for social media and the rest. So I know I'm racing with, if it's football, with FIFA, whoever. You see, now the world has become so small that nobody be anybody again. So I'm racing with the world. My team and I are racing with the world. So you have to, you know, go through. There's nothing that in Shura you would think about today that has not yet been done. So whatever you go through, whenever we have a shoot, I asked my guys, shall I Google that thing gave me? Let me see the examples. These are the ways. You either stick to what has been done before, or you add to it or subtract to it. So that's what we do. We do research. Yeah. So
you research your work so that you're able to. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned that, you know, thanks to social media, you're able to see who you're competing against. But is that level playing field in terms of the competition? Because there are lots of people carrying cameras today, and then, you know, you go on social media, they're photographers.
Oh, yes. I tell you, I went to a sports stadium once, and then my guys were offloading our gears. And one security man who's become, they've all become friends and families. He said, Charlie, madam, hurry up, oh, they are taking all the shots, they left you. I said, no, don't worry, there's nothing like that. We came here with a script, you will see. At that particular spot, I asked my guys to give me a 70 to 200. I turned around and asked the technical bench to please give me a pose. I arranged them, I shot as I don't pretend to be a jack of all trades. I have a media team. I asked my media team, I want the world to see this. In 10 minutes, in fact, Ochieje took that photo. He had 600 likes on Twitter. Okay? The coach himself, you know, they came and somebody sent me this from Germany. I just sat down, I chuckled. Yeah,
which photograph is this? This is the one with former Black Star players, Apia, Stephen Apia, Kwesi Apia.
Exactly. And they are all the technical.
So this was his first game after his return?
Yes. The first training.
Training across Sports Stadium?
Yes, and they were all nationally geared.
Yes.
You know. So I will send that
I remember that photo. I think I clicked like when I saw it.
They use it. So, you know, but then again, so that's the beauty of it. BBC used that photo. That photo is used every time they want to talk about the national team. That's the joy of it. At the same time, it's a level playing field, because if the photo is crap, if you're able to put yours out there earlier and it doesn't inspire that or doesn't command that emotion, it's going to stay where you left it. Even if it's good and you don't channel it properly, it's going to stay where you left it. So, but then the downside of the social media thing is sometimes you reach a certain target audience who are not the sort of audience you should reach if you want to climb up. So they'll continue liking your thing, not seeing that you have to grow, and this is having, shot for 4 years, for 5 years, this is not the sort of thing you should be producing again. They'll continue liking. And if you judge yourself by the number of likes, then you're in trouble, because you will grow very complacent, and which is what is happening now. And you will not listen to anybody, or you will not be prompted to back up. Because photography is a skill of writing with light. That's what photography is, writing with light. And in skill, every day, like a knife, you have to sharpen it. It goes blunt. You have to sharpen it. So no matter who you be, you produce research every day. You have to look at something new. But I see people getting caught up. You can't advise people now, no, because they're looking at their followers. See, when we started photography, there was no social media. So, and then when social media came, there was a crop of us, especially a crop of Ghanaian photographers, who had taken a certain stand that has come to hurt us. We said our work was too good to be on social media. We would rather have websites. So the people behind us took to social media. So they are out there. We are now getting into social media. We have realized that, Charlie, we better join because they know they look well. Because people don't do websites anymore. Yes, there has to be, the social media would channel people to the website. So yes, there's been the social media, or social media has brought a level playing field that it is easy for you to rise from 0 to 1,000, for you to compete with the Getty. Getty is just a company. People tell me, why don't you go and shoot Getty? I said, please, I've set up my own Getty. You see, yeah, it's tough. I'm quite broke at the moment. I could
but Getty didn't start yesterday, so equally.
Love. And then yes, a friend once said to me something, very educated person said to me, Charlie, you Getty self now, they don't mind about this. I said, listen, when Getty started, they did not start where I started. I have started giving you free photos. Getty did not start giving you free photos. And even Getty did. Getty is not a standard of photography, is it? Or Getty is not a standard of business. Getty is somebody's business, and this is my business, and this is my photograph. Getty is not the boss of me. Don't you ever use Getty to me that Getty is doing this way, they do this. That's nonsense. Do you get it? So yes, so social media has brought that thing that your photo, you can be from, look, through social media, people have won awards from the goals they scored in some village somewhere in Ghana. They were competing with the Ronaldos and the rest. So that's the beauty of social media. But then again, if you don't have that self-discipline, social media will floor you down because you won't listen to advice, you won't learn, you will be stuck, and you'll be solely headed over nothing.
Wow. Now, the other thing I want to find out is, our society typically has never been accepting of the fact that the creative arts, photography, videography, painting, these are things that we should place value on. Corporate institutions would need photos that you make. Are they paying good money for it?
Let me take it from this angle, how you started the question. Yes, I always believe that a society that needs something is a society that cannot pay for it. For now, for any sector to grow, you need to put out there an image, sell yourself. That's what everybody is doing. It's how you sell yourself, the image you put out there. That's how you're received. But unfortunately, our side of the world, they cannot afford. Who can support us? The corporates. But guess what, Isha? That's the saddest part. You see, I have come to learn in my maybe small years of 15 years of doing this business, of doing, is that most of all these big organizations, I'm sorry, I once told Mawena, Dumont, now Trevor, that I pity you because you're out here projecting a company, you know, saying your values. But do you know, when you put your face out there, you are here at 8:30 p.m., you're still sitting behind your desk, but those who are supposed to execute what you're saying, is it being executed? Most of these places have, most of the people, and I'm not talking about any one company, but most of these huge institutions that can, you know, sustain the creatives, the workers, the personnel there, also have their own side companies that they give these contracts to.
So they're competing with you, the artist?
There's nothing like competing. What do you mean competing? You're not even in a game. You see, so you take there with your ideas, and sometimes it's executed mediocrely, you know, so mediocre. I mean, everything that is done is such a joke, you know. But even then, if you're able to beat that, if by some fine God's grace, you're able to get that contract, I mean, getting the money is another business altogether.
Wow.
Look, you'll find that. That's why sometimes I laugh when people are blaming a sinking country to the politicians. Even if the politicians are stealing money, actually their level of stealing money is the third thing that is breaking any country down. The technocrats of our environments. The everyday, somebody they remove 2,000. If they hit us bad, somebody they sign $1 million, you know, dollar check or something. Do you get it? I have witnessed cases where even a designer, graphic designer, or was it the website designer of one of these institutions has told me, Madam, listen, that thing, I told them to employ you. You just have to give me something small. And before God and man, if somebody tells you something small, how small? So not knowing, the guy was saying something very small, $5,000.
But how much were you getting for the job
and
itself?
that is what I said to him. I said, oh, but how much will I make? You know what the guy told me? Madam, we don't mind how much you're going to make. We mind the money coming to you. Now, this was a job I traveled around other countries to do. I borrowed money to be able to, I tell you, I borrow money. People, I don't know, I got the impression, somebody was saying, can I travel with you the other day? And then he said, and I said, oh, I can arrange for you. He said, oh, said the payments. Apparently, people have the impression that GFA pays for me. No, I finance my trips. Fine if it's a rented jet or something, but I finance my trips. I've been to, without humility, I've been to over 30 countries around this world, and more than 7 times in each country. And you think GFA paid for me to even go and cover boxing? That's a joke. You know, I finance trips. I borrow money. Sometimes I have to write post-dated checks. Charlie, even one of my checks is pending. Before they come and say, anyway, come to Charlie, I've paid. You know, I buy tickets in bulk. I have to pay money. Do you understand? I have to pay all that. There are hotel bills. When you carry the gadgets that I carry, you can't go and rent any building in any, what do you call it, slum. Because with those gears, you become an easy prey or an easy target. So you have to sleep in a place that can give you that protection. Not less than $175 a night. And then you tell me to give you $5,000.
So that...
And he's just a graphic man,
yeah,
the graphic designer of the company.
So there's a layer cake. There are other people who are going to be wanting that.
Look, in 2008, a friend was giving a bill to government. And then let's say, I'm giving you a figure, let's say the bill, what she's doing, everything, plus her profit and all should be 5,000. Then she said, her accountant called her, oh, would you give them 15,000? I said, oh, Charlie. He said, wait. See, when this come to me, the most that will come to me is 5,500. Before God and man, when it came to her, she was overambitious. It was 4,800.
And everything that was on top had been creamed. How do you think we can stop this?
Beat me. I don't know, because the system has become like, you know, who you know. Charlie, me, I've given up. I tell you don't know me to be somebody who's given up. But I've given up because every time you would expect, you know, even I joked the other time on social media that the operation, occupied, they're also occupied. So, you know, so but the thing is, until we start respecting our own, because in this same thing, do you know, in these same institutions, if there's a break of channel where one director goes and brings a foreigner, they respect, it commands, they will pay that. Look, I have friends in this country, guys who own companies. multi-million companies, dollar companies. Do you know lots of expatriates are hired in this country? Do you know their job? End of the month, they just wear, nice blazers like you're wearing, and they go to the ministries to demand payments. That's what they are being paid, because that is the language that we understand. They only go, their job, the African man, Ghana man is paying an American.
Just to go and demand their check.
Yeah, and he does it. You take your blackface.
Wow, interesting.
So, I don't know.
There's lots of things we can talk about, and the time won't allow us to do all of that. But it's been awesome.
I'm humbled.
It's been awesome. I think there's a lot to your sides. It's interesting seeing your work, but more revelatory hearing you talk about it and learning more about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
So, my 5 takeaways from this conversation is this. Number 1, that you should always be able to stand your ground. The fact that you're here and alive gives you equal rights and opportunities like anyone else that you meet. Number 2 is be cocksure of what you're doing, and it just doesn't happen. Okay, starts with some research and a lot of practice. So you can't be a sharpshooter in any sphere of life if you are not prepared for the moment.
Exactly.
Go out there with confidence. As the third thing that I've learned, that if you go out there, in spite of the fact that there are several different people doing the same thing you're doing, have the confidence that because you have worked on your own skill, you have what it takes to also deliver sterling work. Number 4, passion. I don't know how many times I've mentioned the word passion, but this is something that you see in successful people. Be passionate about what you're doing. Senyuiedzorm is an introverted person, but when she talks photography, she becomes very alive, and that's a beautiful thing to observe. So if you want to excel and do some great stuff out there, find the thing that you're most passionate about. And the final thing I have learned from this conversation is that remember those who have gone ahead of you. Sure. Be humble to learn from them. Take their criticism, because in all of those little things, you will be shaped and you will be well-rounded and you will be successful.
Let me interrupt you.
Yes, please.
God. You have to be spiritual in our field.
Okay.
So whatever you worship, if it's Allah, God, because our work also takes a lot of favor. People who would help you are the so-called, quote-unquote, ordinary people. It's not your minister friend or anybody. Some person you see walking about is the one who will help you. They'll go to that room, they will sign it for you. So it's favor, always. Whatever if you believe in Yahweh, Allah, God, you have to be spiritual. You need a lot of favor. Money cannot get it all for you. Beauty will not get it all for you. Sometimes those things may even play you down. So favor, you need a lot of favor to be put in a good position. You can wake up early, but if you get to the front desk and don't give you the right tickets, you won't go anywhere. So favor.
Well, that's an even nicer way to end this. Well, see, Senyuiedzorm has given you one extra nugget. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much once again.
My pleasure.
And to you, I always say, go forward, make rain. Shalom. We'll see you next week.